stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. Because something is coming through and it is not waiting for me to be ready, and I am just going to start talking. Because if I wait for this to organize itself, someone who needs this is going to scroll past it, and I cannot let that happen today. There is someone, was in your life, and I keep seeing you, not in a big moment, not in the fight, not in the ending. I keep seeing you somewhere, quiet and alone. Maybe your car, engine still running. Sitting in your own driveway, staring at your front door like it belongs to a stranger's house, like you don't recognize the life on the other side of it. And you don't even fully know how you got there. Like your body drove home completely on autopilot, and your mind was somewhere else the entire time. And you are just sitting there, still, hollowed out in a way that is hard to explain to anyone who hasn't felt it. Wondering when exactly you stopped feeling like yourself. Wondering when the last time was that you felt light inside your own chest. That image keeps coming back to me and I cannot shake it. And I think you know exactly what I'm pointing at right now. Because that is what this kind of relationship does. It doesn't always leave marks you can show people. It doesn't always end in one dramatic moment you can point to and say, that right there, that's where everything fell apart. Sometimes it just takes from you. Quietly, consistently. A small amount, every single day, until you look up one morning and realize you don't remember what you wanted before this person came into your life. You don't remember who you were before you started building your entire emotional world around someone else's moods, someone else's needs, someone else's version of reality. And that is not heartbreak in the traditional sense. That is something else entirely. That is something deeper and more specific than heartbreak. And that is exactly what we are here for today. The open gate, okay, so right away, what I am getting is that this is not about someone who was just emotionally unavailable or guarded or going through a hard season in their life. Not just commitment phobic or conflict avoidant or struggling with their attachment style. What entered your life? What attached itself to the connection you were trying to build with good intentions and a genuine open heart was operating on a frequency that you were never supposed to encounter up close. And I think part of you already knew that. I think there was a part of you, maybe a quiet part that you kept overriding, that knew something about this situation was not operating by the rules of normal human connection. You felt things in that relationship that genuinely did not have names. You felt drained in ways that a full night of sleep did not touch. You felt confused coming out of conversations that should have been completely simple. You felt like you were always chasing a version of this person, a version you had maybe glimpsed twice and could never find your way back to. And everyone around you was saying, communicate more, try harder, be more patient. Maybe you're reading too much into things. Maybe you're being too sensitive. And you were sitting there thinking, no, that is not what this is. That explanation does not fit what I am actually experiencing. And you were right. You were completely right. What you were dealing with was not simply a difficult human being navigating their wounds. Underneath the human explanation, underneath all the psychological language that almost made it make sense, there was something darker running the show. Something that had been feeding on this person's unhealed places for so long that it had become the loudest voice in the room, the primary driver of their actions, the filter through which everything you offered them got processed. And every single time you opened up, every time you brought your full self, your warm, genuine, open-hearted self into that space, that thing felt it. And it worked harder against you. That is the part nobody says out loud. Darkness does not ignore light. It does not leave light alone. It goes after it with intention. What feeds on warmth? Okay, I want to get specific here, because Spirit is being very specific with me right now, and I do not want to water this down into something general. You love in a particular way, and I am not saying that to make you feel good or to soften what I'm about to say. I am saying it because it is the precise reason you ended up in this situation. You go all the way in when you decide someone is worth it. You look for the good in people even when the evidence is complicated. You hold space for the hard and messy parts of someone because you genuinely believe, not naively, not foolishly, but from a real deep place inside you, that love has the power to reach places in people that nothing else can access. And you are not wrong about that. Real love, clean love, love moving freely between two people who are both actually showing up, yes, it transforms things. That is not a fairy tale. That is real. But here is what Spirit is showing me, and I need you to sit with this. When one person in that exchange is not fully present, when one person is so layered over with spiritual attachments and unexamined wounds and years of darkness that there is barely room for their own soul to breathe, your love does not land where you believe it is landing. It gets intercepted before it reaches them. It gets absorbed by something that is sitting between you and the real person. And that something is not changed by your love. It is not softened or moved or grateful. It simply takes what you offer. And then it comes back because there is more where that came from. And you kept giving because you believed with everything in you that you were giving to the person you fell for. But what you were actually doing, and this is the hard part, this is the part that changes everything once you really hear it, is feeding something that was using that person as a doorway into your life and into your energy. I know how that lands. I know some of you just felt that sentence hit somewhere physical, and it hurts. So before we go any further, I need to say something clearly, and I need you to actually receive it. The person was real. The soul inside them, the actual human being buried underneath everything that had taken hold of them, was real. And in those moments, when you saw something genuine in them, something soft, something that made your heart catch and think, yes, there you are, I knew you were in there, you were seeing the real person. That was not a performance. That was not calculated. That was a glimpse of who they actually are underneath what has attached to them and made a home in them. But here is what I need you to understand about glimpses. Glimpses are not the same as access. You cannot build a life in a glimpse. You cannot sustain a relationship on a glimpse. And if you always felt like you were chasing the real version of them, if they kept disappearing right before you could fully reach them, that is because the thing driving the show did not want you close to the actual soul underneath. Because that soul, that real person in there, has the capacity for genuine love. And genuine love would have eventually broken the pattern. And the pattern was not going to allow that without a fight. The one being held okay. So now I want to talk about where this person is right now. Not back then, not during the relationship, but right now in this current moment. And I need you to hear this carefully, because I am not saying it to give you hope about a reconciliation or to open a door I have been helping you close. I am saying it because I think you have been carrying a question that has been quietly eating at you for longer than you want to admit. The question is, did I matter at all? Are they fine? Are they out there completely unbothered, moving on without a second thought, while I am still here in the middle of trying to put myself back together piece by piece? Here is what I am getting. They are not fine in the way you are imagining they are fine. They are not out there healed and transformed and becoming someone new. That is not what I mean. What I mean is that they are restless. Their energy keeps returning to you, not because they miss you the way a whole and healthy person misses someone they genuinely loved, but because for a long time, you were the thing keeping a certain system functional inside them. Your energy, your attention, your presence, your light it was sustaining something in them that they had no idea how to generate on their own. And now that it's gone, now that you have removed yourself from that equation, they are reaching for a shelf and finding nothing but air, over and over. That restlessness is real, and it is affecting them, whether they acknowledge it or not. And I think on some level, on a quiet, almost imperceptible level, you have felt it happening. You have had thoughts about them that didn't quite feel like your own thoughts. You have woken up at strange hours, with your heart already going, before you were even fully conscious. You have moved through entire days, feeling heavy, without being able to identify a single reason why. And you have been telling yourself, you are just not over it yet. You just need more time. You just need to keep working on yourself. That heaviness is not only your grief, some of it is, but some of what you are feeling is coming through a connection that is still live, still transmitting, still moving energy between you and them in both directions. And that is the chord. And we are going to talk about that chord directly. But first, if you are watching this right now and something in you is saying, this is exactly my situation. This is what happened to me. She is describing my life. I want you to drop a number in the comments. Any number at all. Just so I know you are here. Just so you know you are not sitting alone in this. Because the energy around this reading is enormous, and I feel every single person this is for, and I want you to know that. Comment something. Anything. The comment section on this one is going to matter. And if someone in your life is still inside something like this and doesn't know what to call it, share this with them. Sometimes the most important thing you can do for someone is put a name to what they are carrying. The scramble, okay, so here is what this person is doing right now in terms of reaching toward you. And this is the part where I really need you to stay with me. Because this is precisely where so many people get pulled back in without even fully realizing it is happening. They are sending signals. Not always directly, and not always with words. Maybe it is a like on something old, something you posted months ago that they had no reason to be looking at. Maybe it is reaching through someone you are both connected to. Planting something small. A comment, a question, a mention of your name in a conversation they knew would get back to you. Maybe it is showing up somewhere they know you will eventually hear about it through your circles. Maybe it is nothing that obvious at all. Maybe it is just a feeling. A sense that they are suddenly back in your peripheral vision after a long absence. A weight you wake up with that feels external. An increase in how often your mind goes to them in the past few weeks, for no clear reason you can identify. That is not a coincidence, and it is not the universe sending you a sign to reconsider. What that is them sensing that you are pulling away at a deeper level than before. Really pulling away. Not just physically out of the situation, but energetically detaching. Healing in places that were raw. Becoming more yourself in ways that are visible even without them being close to you. And something moving through them does not want that process to complete. Because once you are fully free, once you have genuinely released the cord and reclaimed your energy and become whole in the way you are, in the process of becoming there, there is no access point anymore. There is nothing left to reach through. And that is something the pattern absolutely cannot accept. So it sends little signals, carefully timed moments designed to crack open a door that you have been working hard to close. And I need you to see those signals for exactly what they are. They are not love reaching back for you. They are not remorse finally breaking through the surface. They are control trying to reassert itself. They are the pattern refusing to accept that you actually got out this time. And if you respond, if you open that door, even a fraction, you are not reconnecting with the person you loved. You are giving access again to the thing that hollowed you out. And I know that is painful to hear, but that is what is real here. And I would rather tell you the truth than make you feel good for 5 minutes. The door that stays closed, let's talk about you now. Let's talk about where you actually are right now versus where you appear to be from the outside. Because I think there is a significant gap between those two things. And I think you feel that gap every single day. On the outside, you have pulled it together. People in your life see you and say you seem different, you seem lighter, something has shifted in you. And you smile and you say, yeah, I have just been working on myself. And that is true. You have been. And it shows in real ways. But inside there is still a section of this that you have not finished with. And it is not weakness. It is not secretly wanting them back. It is not failure to move on. It is something much more specific than that. It is the fact that what happened to you does not follow the normal map of how a relationship ends and how you recover from it. Normal endings hurt tremendously, but they eventually make a kind of sense. You grieve, you process, you identify what went wrong, you see your part in it, and slowly the story becomes something you can hold without it burning you. That is how human dynamics work between two people who are both fully present and both operating from their own actual selves. You cannot apply that map to what you went through. Because you cannot find closure in a story where one of the characters was not fully themselves. You cannot make sense of an ending when you were never entirely sure what you were dealing with to begin with. You keep trying to run it through your mind, trying to organize it into something that adds up, and your mind keeps hitting a wall. Because what happened to you was operating on a level that the rational mind alone was never designed to process. That is why it doesn't resolve the way other things have resolved. That is why it keeps coming back up in waves when you thought you were done with it. You are not broken. You have just been trying to use the wrong tool to heal something that requires a different approach entirely. And that is not your fault, because nobody handed you the manual for this. The tether and the cut the cord. I want to address this directly because spirit is pressing on it, and I do not want to skip past it with something vague. There is still an energetic attachment running between you and this person. It is not romantic longing exactly, though it can feel like that on certain nights. It is more like it is the part of you that is still waiting for an explanation that finally makes sense. Still hoping that one day the entire experience will click into place and you will understand it cleanly. Still asking in your quietest moments whether you imagined how bad it was, whether you were too much, whether you were not enough, whether any of what felt real actually was. And you did not imagine it. None of it. But as long as that chord remains live, those questions are going to keep circling back. Because the chord is not just a lingering connection, it is an active channel. And through that channel, their energy is still arriving in you, their restlessness, their emptiness, their thram reaching for something they drained and lost and cannot replace. You feel that, and you are interpreting it as your own grief. And some of it is. But some of what moves through you on your hardest nights is coming from them. Arriving through a line you have not yet fully closed. Cutting that cord is not an act of cruelty. I need to say that plainly because I know exactly what stops people from doing it. It feels like abandonment. Like if you fully let go, if you stop sending them prayers, stop quietly monitoring how their life is going. Stop keeping one small part of your attention on them that makes you heartless, that makes you the person who just walked away without caring about what happens to them. It does not make you that person. You cannot pray someone free from a war they have not agreed to fight. You cannot love someone into healing they have not chosen to pursue. And you cannot keep absorbing the weight of their spiritual situation inside your own body without it eventually costing you things you need desperately for your own life. Releasing the cord gives you back to yourself. And it may take more than once. You may release with full intention and feel lighter for a week, and then a memory surfaces. A song comes on. A random moment on an ordinary Tuesday. And suddenly, you are back in the weight of it. That is completely normal. That is exactly how this works. You do not do it once, and it is finished. You do it again and again, each time with a little more conviction, until one morning you wake up and the very first thought in your mind is not them. That morning is closer than you currently believe. And when it arrives, something fundamental shifts in your life. First thought free morning, I want to talk about what this actually was, what the purpose of it was. Because I am getting very strongly that this was not random, not bad luck, not you making a poor choice because something in you was fundamentally broken. This was a test of your light. And I know how that sounds. I know it can sound like a way of wrapping something genuinely awful in spiritual language to make it easier to swallow. But that is not what I mean, and I want to be careful here. What I mean is that there are things that come into certain people's lives that are specifically designed to find the outer edge of their light. to find out exactly how much sustained pressure it takes before you begin dimming yourself down, before you start apologizing for taking up space, before you start editing who you are so that something threatened by your fullness can feel less destabilized by your presence. And what came into your life found you with precision. It found you because you are genuinely, unusually bright. The way you feel things at a depth most people do not reach. The way you love without a ceiling on it. The way you walk into a room and something in the energy shifts slightly before you have said a single word, before you have done a single deliberate thing. People feel you before you speak. That is not a small thing. That is not common. And it is profoundly threatening to anything that exists in darkness and needs darkness to survive. So, you were not chosen accidentally. You were not just in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were targeted precisely because of what you carry. And here is what I want you to hold on to after this video ends. You survived it. Not barely, not just technically, not by the skin of your teeth. You came through it with that light still burning. Bent maybe, dusty maybe, something you forgot was there for a while, yes. But it did not go out. After everything that came at it, after all the sustained pressure and confusion and drain, it did not go out. And that is not a small thing. That is extraordinary. What couldn't be taken, okay, Spirit, is moving me forward, and I want to follow that, because I think you need to hear what comes next. What I see for you going forward is an opening. Not dramatic, not sudden, not one enormous moment where everything changes at once. Just space. Like a door that has been jammed shut for a long time, quietly releasing on its own. And into that space, things are beginning to arrive. Small things first, a conversation that surprises you with how good it feels. An opportunity that appears from a direction you were not watching. A person who sees you in a way that feels unfamiliar at first actually sees you. Not a version of you that is useful or convenient or manageable for them, but actually sees you. And something in you will recognize that feeling. And then it will realize it had forgotten that feeling was possible. I want you to let that in when it comes. I know the instinct is going to be to armor up, because the last time you opened that door, this is what happened, and your nervous system has not forgotten. That makes complete sense. But closing completely is not the same as being safe. Closing completely is just the damage winning over your future. The answer is not to seal yourself off from love and connection and the possibility of something real. The answer is to become more discerning about who you allow close and how quickly you allow them there. And here is the thing, you have something now that you absolutely did not have before any of this happened. You know what dark energy feels like when it first arrives. You know that specific quality of drain. You know what it feels like in your physical body when someone's words and their actual energy are telling you two completely different stories at the same time. Most people spend their entire lives never developing that ability. You have it now at the cellular level. That is not a wound you are carrying. That is armor. The real kind. The kind that protects you without shutting you off from your own life. The discerning heart, this person. The one we have been talking about throughout this entire reading. I want to come back to them one final time, because there is something that needs to be said clearly, and it is not about blame, and it is not about whether or not they deserve your compassion, and it is not about forgiveness as a performance you owe anyone. They have not changed. I want to say that plainly and without softening it. Whatever signals they are sending right now, whatever is reaching back toward you through direct or indirect channels, whatever version of themselves they may be presenting to the world or to people in your shared circles, the thing that was operating through them is still there. They have not done the uncomfortable, painful, deeply honest internal work that would actually shift something. They have not sat alone with their own darkness and asked it real questions. They have not chosen healing in the way that genuinely transforms a person from the inside out. And I know that part of you hoped they had. The version of them that you fell for lives somewhere inside you still, and that version of them hopes along with you. But hope is not the same as evidence. And love is not the same as truth. They may choose to do that work one day. Genuinely, they may. Some people do eventually. But that journey belongs entirely to them, and it has absolutely nothing to do with whether you are available or unavailable, waiting or not waiting, soft toward them or protective of yourself. Your presence cannot accelerate it. Your absence cannot prevent it. Your life does not need their transformation as a prerequisite for your own. Your life has already started. It started the day you removed yourself from something that was consuming you. And the only direction from here is forward into the version of yourself that all of this was preparing you to become. The calibrated body, okay. Last thing, and I mean it this time. If something reaches you and I am getting that there is a real possibility of some form of contact coming, some signal, however indirect, some reaching through whatever channel is still available to them, I want you to have already made your decision before it arrives. Because in the moment, it will feel different than you are expecting it to feel. It might feel warm. It might feel like finally. It might feel like the version of them you loved is the one reaching out this time. Like something has shifted. Like maybe this is the moment everything you went through becomes worth something. And that feeling is going to be real. I am not telling you it won't be real. But that feeling is the cord responding to being pulled. Not your heart recognizing love. The cord and your heart are not the same thing, and you know the difference now. You have always known the difference. You just have to be willing to trust what you know more than you trust what you want in the moment of feeling it. Feel everything. And then from that feeling, with everything you now carry and everything you now know, ask yourself one question. Is this the real person finally breaking free from what has been holding them? Or is this the pattern making one more calculated move? You will know the answer. You have always known. And this time, trust it. If this found you today, if you made it all the way to the end of this, and something in you cracked open or settled, or finally exhaled, I see you. I really do. Drop anything in the comments. Tell me this was for you. Share this with someone in your life who is still carrying something they cannot find the words for. Because someone you know needs to hear this, and you might be the reason they find it today. You were in a relationship with a demon, not a metaphor, not an exaggeration, not a dramatic way of describing something difficult. And you made it out. With your light, with your heart, with your capacity to feel things fully still, completely, and entirely intact. That is not nothing. That is everything. Now go protect it.